Okay, on this episode of the Nightlife Podcast, we're joined by teachers Brett Van Gasbeck and Kelly Young, students Adam Haynes and Melanie Wilsbach, and Superintendent of Northwest Local Schools Todd Bowling. We discuss the student leadership programs, the United Knights and Student Senate, and we discuss the impact of these programs have on our building, our community, and students, while reflecting on the importance of leadership opportunities for high school students and the long-term benefits of having such opportunities. It was a really great conversation, and I appreciate you guys listening to us. Hope you enjoy.
We've got a full house today talking about the Northwest High School emphasis on student leadership. With us is Brett Van Gasbeek. Did I get that right?
Close enough. That's
all right.
fine.
United Knights advisor, Melanie Wilsbach, a student, and Adam Haynes, a student. Did I get that right, Melanie?
Yes.
Okay, great. Kelly Young, the Student Senate advisor, and Todd Bowling, the superintendent of the Northwest Local School District, excuse me. And, of course, Brad Watkins is here again with us.
Hey, Bill.
This is our second podcast. Hope we got a good response to the first one. Let's start out with a description of the Unite Knights program, I guess. Would that be
The
you, Brett?
United Knights, yeah.
United Knights.
Sorry.
United Knights started in the early 2000s under the guidance of Robin Burbrink, a Northwest Hall of Fame member and former AD. And when she was assistant AD, she started the organization. The organization is basically a leadership organization for the athletic department.
Okay.
And now it's a booster organization, in fact, as well. It's an arm of the boosters. Basically what happens is we have the students kind of refuse their own roster of individuals by voting on people and nominating people that they have seen on the court, on the field, who have shown not only athletic talent, but also a talent for leadership and possibly a captainhood down the way. And it's basically a organization that trains our future leaders. So when they do get to junior and senior years, they're not only the leaders on the field and on the court, but also in the classrooms as well.
So how many people make up the United Knights?
Anywhere between 60 to 70.
Oh, wow, okay. All right. Do they meet on a regular basis? I mean, what's the overall?
We have two major meetings a year prior to our service functions. The first event actually is tomorrow, Saturday. It's the Spooky Stroll, and we started that about 7 years ago, where we basically turned Northwest High School into a family-friendly haunted house. And all proceeds go to help fund our elementary school pride programs. So any money we make just goes right back in, and we basically invite Pleasant Run Elementary, Taylor, and Welch to come up to our high school, and the school that has the highest percentage of attendance of their students get the proceeds. So it gets a little bit of kind of a rivalry going between our elementaries as well. Okay. And the other thing that we've done in the past is in the spring we go down to Sawyer Point and help out with the March of Dimes. So we basically run the kids zone down there so that organization can worry about the actual walk, and our students actually take care of the family-friendly kids zone so that they have a fun place to take the kids so the parents can kind of relax after raising money for a good cause.
So how does United Knights then impact the school overall, would you say?
I would say we impact the school. I'm going to involve these guys in it. Adam and Melanie are both involved in United Knights, and they can speak a little bit better on how it impacts their lives.
All right. As far as impacting the school, I think these two programs, they're connected a lot more to the community because it comes from the people that go to the school. And so when you bring in stuff like the Spooky Stroll, that brings in the families and the kids who are actually going to be future high school students and middle school students. I think it creates a relationship that strengthens the community, inspires more people to be inspired to do greater things and know that they have a family they can go to.
Melanie, any thoughts?
I was just going to say it promotes a lot of leadership among the student athletes that are already there, and it's working to promote service for the rest of their lives because it promotes good habits of service opportunities and community involvement and stuff like that.
Okay. I mean, I can say from an athletic director standpoint, working with the United Knights, because so many obviously there's an athletic component with United Knights. Number one, they do a fantastic job of cleaning up after our home events. Thanks, guys.
Very practical
Appreciate
thing.
it.
Yeah, right.
But number two, it's just we talked about it a little bit at the last podcast. Is that ultimately we believe that culture is going to win games, and these guys play a big part of our established culture here at Northwest High School. The culture of service learning, giving to others, that community, that believe it or not, that translates to team sports and athletics more so than the technical stuff, the X's and O's.
Okay.
I truly believe that. You know, if you can have an understanding of service and putting others before yourself, think about how that translates on a basketball court or on a football field or on a soccer field. Those are just life values that, you know, are being taught here at Northwest High School through these organizations, through our Student Senate, through our United Knights, that ultimately the end goal, again, making better human beings, you know, and that's what we're here to do. And I think that, you know, these organizations and the emphasis that we've put on leadership and allowing access to leadership opportunities and service opportunities for our kids is paramount to our success here. So it's awesome.
Todd, I want to get your perspective as the district superintendent, your thoughts on the United Knights program.
First of all, just a thank you to Brett and Robin for when they started this and continued it, because the amount of pay they received for this is little or none. But to have the leadership within the school, and when we talk about Senate, this to me is the same thing. Parents are stuck on my class rank, where am I at? But the bottom line, it comes down to what was your ACT? And then if you have the same ACT as 100 others enrolling in a college, what are your leadership positions? This is key leadership positions. Not only are there visible leaders in the school, but our elementary kids get to see them in leadership positions. Our middle school kids do. So they have role models, and what better role models to have than our own students? So the success that they have and the ability to recruit, and they do a lot of things that aren't fun things, but they're giving back to the community, and hopefully they're giving back because somewhere along their 8 to 10 years of education prior to whatever grade level they're in, somebody did something for them that meant something. So this is huge for us.
Brett, let's go back to the origin of this program. What prompted the creation of the United Knights?
Well, Robin Burbring saw a need within the school community that our athletic leaders weren't really given the opportunity, except for just in their own sport, to impact Northwest. So you have a soccer captain that goes out and does a great job of organizing and inspiring their teammates to do their best, but yet, meanwhile, let's say the baseball program doesn't have that leader. Having something like the United Knights puts all those athletes together, and they share ideas and share what works. And, you know, I've heard even at meetings, just we've talked about, well, okay, have you talked to the coach about that issue? And then instead of me telling them how to do it, somebody else says, well, I had a problem like that in my sport.
Okay.
And so they share ideas through this as, you know, just person to person. They're getting a peer review almost. And I have to say, you know, Burbring started it, but if it weren't for people like Lori Beyer and the late Joe Bertram, who was instrumental at keeping this program moving. I actually was the one that replaced him when he went over to Coleraine to be a principal. Joe was somebody I always wanted to emulate. Even though he's younger than me, I looked up to him, and he was a great man. And Lori's aunt is a great human being too. It took great people to train me how to run something like this. I certainly wouldn't be able to do this without their example.
Anything, plans for growth or changes or expanding the program as you head into 2018?
Well, we typically go to the Munoz Leadership Conference, as well as the SWAC Leadership Conference, we're still doing that on November 16th. But the Munoz Conference, unfortunately, this year was canceled at the last minute. And this year we had already taken steps towards a service learning project with Loveland High School. A former teacher from this building named Richard Ernst called me and said, you know, we have a problem every year with follow-through. You know, we have these grand visions of what we want to do, and we never follow through with it. And I said, you know, we've had that kind of in the past, too. You know, we have something similar there. So we invited them to come over on the day that we were supposed to go to Munoz. We figured, well, we were going to a leadership conference anyway.
Right.
Why don't you come on over? And we talked about some of the things that we'd like to do, and we kind of came up with the idea of having a powder puff football game between the two schools and using that as a vehicle to help out with canned food drives around Thanksgiving and Christmas, as well as the hurricane relief for all of our local food pantries. So we are working with Loveland still, trying to set that up. Tentatively, it's also November 16th, trying to get that off the ground and see if maybe we can make that more of a tradition. And then also pony off of that we go down and help out at Matthew 25 or Corpus Christi or one of those local food banks, trying to help out, and actually not only give canned food and water, which we're trying to, get across to students we always should do,
right,
but also going down and actually putting boots on the ground and trying to help out by delivering or stocking shelves or whatever else.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot of opportunities, that's
Sure.
for sure, with everything that's been going on lately. Let's pivot now a little bit to Student Senate. I know it's been around for a while because I was on Student Senate way back in 1977, my sophomore year.
Was that the first Student Senate?
I don't know. It might have been. I don't remember because we did everything by candlelight and things like that. Because the electricity hadn't quite caught on then. So, Kelly Young, tell me about Student Senate. Do you know how long it's been around?
Yes, Ken Kappenberg founded it in
Mr.
1972.
It was longer than that. How about that?
Yeah, and he was here for 19 years, so he did it then. And after him, Patty Daly took it over, and she still helps me. She had it for 30 years before I took it over, but she still is a tutor in our building and is a huge support to me as well. Patty has always said that in order to take over this job, you have to, kind of similar to what Brett said, you have to be trained to do it. Mm-hmm. Ken trained her how to do it, and then she trained me. So we worked together for 3 or 4 years as co-advisors with Shannon Bowling as well. And then when Patty retired, I took over with Shannon as Senate, and then luckily Patty came back, so I still have her expertise to help in all of the events that we do, because there are many. What some of our main goals are, we are a service group, and that's what I try to tell our students. One of the hardest challenges we have today is to get students to want to serve without getting anything in return, and we still want to praise them and reward them for, their hard work, but we don't do it for, the free pizza or the free donuts. We do it because that's what we're supposed to do.
Right.
And we have 6 different organizations which allow for some of our students to step up, and they chair it. So we have a service group, a teacher appreciation group, a Recognize the Night. That's kind of a new one this year that we implemented to kind of recognize different organizations, athletics, anything related to a Northwest high school.
Okay.
We have a family fun group, which our officers run, but that was just to make Senate, events where we come together as one big family and get to know each other. Because one of our other big goals is team building and working together for a common good. And we have publicity, and they meet every other Friday and publicize anything they could possibly need.
How many people are on Student Senate?
So we have anywhere from 100 to 110 students.
Okay.
When Ken Kappenberg started it was 15 per grade, and they were all voted in.
Right.
This now, and actually I was a former Senate member, vice president in 2003, and when I was in high school here is when it kind of changed over to 25 per grade, and 15 of those 25 get elected in, and 10 of them get appointed in.
Okay.
Because they were, there was people, I don't run because I would never get voted in. So we were missing out on some of those really good leaders that teachers and their peers may see their value, but maybe not the whole student body.
Who appoints the ones who are appointed?
The advisors, so Miss Daly, myself, Miss Bowling, and my 5 or 6 Senate officers. We all sit down, we read through all the applications, their letter of recommendations, and just, teachers' input, and we hope for the best, that we made the right choice.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
In order to stay in Senate, they have to earn credit every semester. They have to earn 2 credits. There's tons of opportunities. I think if someone did everything, they could probably earn 20 credits.
Wow.
So, we realize, Melanie's in Student Senate too. We share, they're good kids, they're athletes, they're in Key Club, or they're in various different things, and we want them to be a part of it, so we make it a realistic goal, but we also want them to earn their spot.
Right. Melanie, talk a little bit about your experience on Student Senate. What prompted you to want to be involved with that?
I think not only does it help like with service opportunities, but it helps you work with a team to do things. So it helps like with management of others if you're a chairperson on it. And we have to stay after like football games and set up for like homecoming. We set up homecoming the day after, we clean up. So it's like not always something that you want to be there for, but you do it because you know that like you're going to leave a lasting impact on the school by doing those things. I mean, it's kind of hard sometimes when you like play sports and do a bunch of other stuff to come to everything. So that's why it's cool that there's like a lot that you can do, and it's like per semester. So even when you're busy doing all this other stuff, you still make time to help the school.
Do you have a favorite aspect of Student Senate? Is there a particular group you're involved with? One of the groups that Kelly mentioned, maybe?
Publicity is a good one because it like advertises and markets what we do and like what's going on in the school so that everybody else knows. And we make like posters and flyers, and I think that's really cool.
That's fun. What year are you?
Oh, I'm a junior.
Junior, okay. So how many years have you been on Student Senate? Did you start last year or year before or what?
Oh, yeah, I started when I was a freshman, and then I was a friend of Senate last year, so I still like came to all this stuff, but I didn't have to technically get credits for it, so.
All right. Talk a little bit about the importance of a group like the Student Senate for the district and for the high school.
I know we have a time limit, so I'll try to be short, but there's so much I could say. I am a Northwest graduate, just like yourself. Did not make Senate like you, the Dave Burbanks, the Steve Daly's, the Patty Daly's. I was not elected. I was an only child, and if I blocked well Friday night, I got my own pizza at home, so I went home. But it didn't matter. Ken Kaffenberg invited me into everything. He, and just like Kelly and Patty and Shannon do now, if kids show an interest, even if they're not in Senate, they will enlist their help. But you talk about the importance. There is nothing more important than these two activities we're talking about with United Knights and Senate. I'm not impressed by a kid who can sit in a calculus class and pass a calculus test. That's great. That's important. If you're going to be an engineer, that's life. Right. What they're doing is student leadership and servant leadership. They are working for others. It is so neat to see that. And I've seen it through, I was here as a teacher, I was here as an administrator, and then here as a student. And they organize homecoming events. They plan it out. They decide what the theme is. They show up with Kelly or Patty or Shannon. Sometimes they'll decorate on a Saturday morning from 7 to 4, go home and hope they can get their hair done in 2 hours, come back to the dance. Now I think they stay on Friday nights. They turn the gym into an awesome place that the kids can go. And they never ask for credit. They never ask for any appreciation. And the officers know what their job is. If you're a junior class officer, I believe they still sit and help and collect tickets. But it's so programmed and it's so set on these are the steps you must go through to be a senior and finally enjoy what you go through. And it started with Ken. And Ken still writes me. I get 2 letters a month from Ken, and he's living in Montana. And he just says, hang in there, education is what it is. He's still volunteering at a school out there. I hear from him more than I do my wife sometimes because we're always out on our job. But it's just amazing. And I know Patty was the same way when she took over. And then they recruit Kelly, and she takes over. And then they recruit Shannon, and they help out. But it's kind of all in the family, and it has been since Ken started this. But there is nothing more important. I mean, these kids aren't just sitting here. They're going and taking 6, 7 credits this year. Some of them are working jobs. Some of them are in 2 clubs. Some of them are in sports on top of that. They're maintaining a high GPA, and they are the role models in our district. So I want Senate to eventually become a accredited course, something that kids are required to sign up in classes. I don't think people realize they meet as a group every morning in homeroom, and they disseminate information. So it's not just them coming up with the ideals. They go to homerooms, gather what the student body wants, and brings it back and makes decision based on that. What I want is for the rest of the school to wake up and see how important Student Senate is to life development, how important United Knights is to developing leadership skills in you. That's what carries you to the next level. That's what will make you better as you become an adult and you move forward. So what Senate has done and what it continues to do in United Knights, it's the most important things I think we have here, even more important than the academic parts because it teaches things that are important to me.
Well, I know I can build on that real quick, Brad. If I work at the University of Cincinnati and do public relations for the Academic Health Center, and one of the 4 colleges in that is a College of Nursing, and that's a beat I cover. And one of the things they're focusing on right now is a more holistic approach to admissions. And it's not ACTs. It's not necessarily the essay or that thing you write about when you decided to become a nurse. It's about they're doing what's called mini interviews, MMI process. So instead of just looking at grades, they're looking at what makes a good leader. And because that's one of their phrases is, you see nurses, we see leaders. They're not just wanting people to become good nurses. They want them to become good people and good leaders. Right. And so the importance of the holistic approach to education, and you're doing that here with United Knights and the Student Senate. It's not just grades and so forth. It's as you mentioned earlier, Brad, it's raising good leaders or creating good leaders.
Yep. I think it's that civility piece. We've always kind of, and I can speak from, the department I'm in charge of. I've always kind of adopted my alma maters. Sorry, Todd. The Cal Vulcans, my alma mater, California University of Pennsylvania, really had three things that we focused on, which was integrity, civility, and responsibility. And I always kind of go back to my leadership style and what I would, like to see out of our coaches, and and ultimately in our kiddos, is that those three values hold true. Like when you take away everything else in education, the test scores and everything, what are we here to do? We're here to better our civilization, our society. And I think if we hone in on the civility piece and doing things with integrity and being responsible people, I can tell you the kids that are sitting and joining us today, Mel and Adam, they're here as representatives of these organizations, but they live it. They live that civility, that integrity, that responsibility, and they're a representation of so many other kids that are walking the halls in our building. And it's really cool to be. I'm an outsider. I didn't graduate. I got 3 adults here and a guy that's been here for 16 years, Brent?
15.
15. Okay, going on 16.
Close enough.
It's super neat, and I feel privileged and honored to come to work every day because it is like coming to work with your family. You talk about, the family atmosphere, Mr. Bowling, that you mentioned a little bit ago, that, and then it's passed down generation to generation. This is what we're doing. And that's what makes it fun to be at Northwest High School, is that we've got leaders out in the Cincinnati area. We've got leaders in Montana. We've got leaders all over. Bill, you and I see we do the Night of Honor, our Hall of Fame induction every year together. How many bios do we read that, they were involved in Senate, they were involved in the United Knights?
That's a real good point.
So these leaders, these two groups and the leadership opportunities that we're providing here, really translates to life after graduation. And, I look at you two guys, you guys are going to be set. You guys have it. I know that just because I've been around you for 3 years. But we got a lot of other kids that are going to be set and have a kind of a background to go from that can interview well at UC, that can apply themselves in many different ways, not just in the books. So it's a cool time to be at Northwest High School. It's been a lot of fun in the 3 years that I've been here now, watching these programs kind of impact the school and impact the community. You talk about service, and I harp on that a lot, but I truly believe that if you can put yourself, and take a back seat and put others above yourself, that's the way to live it. Mm-hmm. That's what we're doing, and that's what we're teaching the kids here. So I'm proud and honored to be a part of it.
So Mel and Adam, I see you guys kind of exchanging glances. What are your thoughts as we wrap this up, just about what these programs offer you and your fellow students?
I think just from watching my classmates, and not just in my graduating class, but like in the entire school, I think these programs, being the people that sit next to us as the leaders, I think it does set an example, but also community-wise, I think it gives a light that people can follow, not just that go to Pleasant Run or PRE, go to our other schools in the district, and not just in the district, in the Cincinnati area, like with Loveland. I think I can see it growing a lot more into more of maybe a statewide thing as an influence, and just inspiring other school organizations to follow the same step and working together to improve not just our community, but communities across the country. And I think that these programs are in their early stages, more because I think there's a lot more that can be done. Not negatively, but positively. I think we can do a lot more.
Melanie, any thoughts?
I just think that like people need to realize that these organizations are what make high school good, instead of looking at a place where you just have a lot of work to do and where all your stress is. Like when you get involved with these things, it makes high school good. School spirit makes high school good. Like community involvement makes your community good and your high school experience good.
I want to thank all our guests today, our students, Melanie and Adam, the United Knights advisor, Brett Van Gaspeak, and Todd Bowling, superintendent, and Student Senate advisor, Kelly Young, and athletic director, Brad Watkins. Thank you very much. Where are we landing this podcast?
Nightlife Podcast will be on SoundCloud, iTunes now.
Great.
And we'll have something up on YouTube pretty quickly.
I said Night Moves earlier. That's a Bob Seger in my head.
That is a good song.
From my days back here at Northwest High School. So, yeah, it is Nightlife. And find it in the locations Brad just mentioned. And we'll see you hopefully again next month. Thanks again, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.